hear ye, brave adventurers. The town of Bergraam, nestled amongst the foothills of the storied spine of the world, is in dire need of your aid. Our once peaceful lives have been shattered, series of violent earthquakes that threaten to reduce our homes and livelihoods to rubble. The ground beneath our feet trembles with unnatural fury, leaving fissures in its wake and threatening to swallow our homes whole. Buildings crumble, businesses lie in ruin, and fear grips the hearts of our stalwart people. The source of these tremors remains a mystery, a puzzle too complex for us simple folk to solve. We, the desperate people of Bergraam, call upon you, brave heroes, to answer our plea. We seek those with stout hearts, keen minds, and a thirst for adventure to investigate the source of these calamitous quakes. Could it be the wrath of a slumbering earth elemental, the stirrings of a forgotten god, or perhaps the machinations of some nefarious power hidden deep within the earth? We offer you challenge worthy of your talents, and a reward befitting your heroism. Glory, riches, and the eternal gratitude of the people of Bergraam await those who dare answer our call. Will you heed our plea and help us reclaim our peace? Come, heroes, join us in Bergraam. Time is of the essence, and the fate of our town hangs in the balance.
The air is thick with the smell of salt and seaweed as the Bergraam ferry chugs steadily across the open water. The sun hangs low on the horizon, painting the air in hues of orange and purple. You feel gentle rocking beneath your feet as the ferry cuts through the waves, leaving a frothy white trail in its wake. The ferry is crowded with a motley assortment of passengers, including merchants, pilgrims, and adventurers. You stand near the railing, gazing out at the vast expanse of water, lost in your own thoughts. In the distance, you can just make out the faint outline of Bergraam, bustling port city renowned for its trade and its somewhat lawless reputation. As you draw closer to the city, you see the silhouette of towering buildings and the flickering lights of countless torches and lanterns. The peace of the journey is shattered suddenly, cacophony of croaks, splashes, and the thud of heavy objects striking the deck. From the shadows along the shoreline, a horde of bullywugs launch a surprise attack on the ferry. The creatures, their slimy green skin glistening in the fading light, leap onto the deck, wielding crude spears and clubs. Their eyes burn with a savage hunger, their mouths open in wide, menacing grins, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Panic erupts among the passengers as the bullywugs swarm over the ferry. Merchants scramble for cover, pilgrims scream in terror, and even seasoned adventurers are taken aback beside the ferocity of the assault. The ferry's crew, outnumbered and outmatched, fight bravely but are quickly overwhelmed. The bullywugs, driven by primal instinct to conquer and pillage, press their attack relentlessly. It's clear that unless something is done to stop them, the ferry, and everyone aboard, will be lost. Amidst the chaos and bloodshed, you see an opportunity to make a difference. This is your chance to prove your worth, to show what you are capable of.
Cain looks onto the horizon to find his destination. His expression is calm, but he ultimately cannot contain the excitement of finally visiting Bergraam inside. Another place to see, more people to meet, and new culture and cuisine to be discovered. He notes and dots on his journal and checks upon his existing weapons, runes and armor. The ferry was making its way peacefully, only to be met with a welcoming party of bullywugs, each more slimy and ferocious than the last. The battle was long and ferocious, with Cain jabbing and hacking away the boarding bullywugs the best he could. He looks around and finds the fighting pointless and knew something else needs to be done. He looks at his gear and his surroundings and came up with a plan. In a main he cut a piece of rope holding down one of the sails and climbed upon the mast with the attention of the bullywugs focused upon the battle. Upon reaching the top, Cain pulls out 3 of his on-hand potions of random magical effects and poured them all onto one giant flask with a teeny makeshift bomb strapped at the top. With no hesitation and no time to waste, Cain leaped off the mast with the rope tied around his waist. He swings around the boat twice, praying he doesn't get hit killed. Any flying spears or prey and arrow struck his neck. After one final swing, he hovers over the mob of bullywugs, lights his cacophony of a contraption alight, and flings it upon the horde. He then calls upon the might of the giants and begins to large size. Upon swinging once more towards the ship, he cuts the rope around his waist and uses the newly gained momentum to crash into one of the attacker's skiffs, tipping it over along with the remaining frog folk. The bullywugs, now in excruciating pain due to continuously having their bodies continuously morphed and stretched into unimaginable horrors, tear-sigh to remove the potion from their skins. Skins which were slimy then hard as stone. The crew used the newly gained advantage to take revenge with a sea of arrows and spells. They lay waste to the beleaguered foe. As Starlight stands, leaning over the edge of the ship, excited to finally visit Bergraam. It's a place that she's read plenty about but now has the opportunity to see with her own eyes. However, very quickly her excitement is replaced by a panic frenzy as the captain rings the alarm on the boat and the others scream for shelter. As she looks around, she sees the bullywugs leaping onto the boat with spears and other sharp weapons to pillage and loot. In a burst of inspiration, Starlight casts Fog Cloud, summoning dense mist that obscures the deck. The sudden shroud of haze sends the bullywugs into disarray, their movements becoming erratic as they lose sight of their targets. Using the cover, Starlight moves swiftly and positions herself defensively near the frightened passengers. As the fog shifts, she summons a flaming scimitar with flame blade, its ethereal fire cutting through the mist and illuminating her creepy eyes. With a wild focus, she swings at the nearest bullywug, the blade searing through its rubbery flesh, the slime exploding and splashing onto its mates and the passengers. The captain and a few braver passengers attempt to fight back, but their efforts are clumsy and uncoordinated. During this haphazard battle, Starlight realizes that the boat has begun to take on water and casts Destory water to seal the breaches before the entire ferry sinks entirely. The bullywug numbers are too great to stay on the defensive. She raises her wooden shield, blocking a spear thrust before counterattacking with continuous flame cantrips. Bursts of fire sending the bullywugs off the boat into the deep dark water depths. In a final, desperate move, Starlight casts Thunder Wave, a concussive blast of energy rippling outward and flinging the remaining bullywugs from the deck into the watery depths. The attack leaves her drained, her body battered and bruised, but the threat is repelled. She lays there, staring at the Evi to even out her breathing and recover. After a while, she casts the healing word onto herself to push forward. The Bergraam ferry sailed steadily along the darkened river, its lanterns flickering as the crew worked in silence. The night's tranquility shattered, however, when the water around the ferry churned violently and a horde of bullywugs leaped onto the deck. The crew shouted in alarm as the amphibious raiders croaked and snarled, their crude weapons glinting under the moonlight. Among the chows, a mysterious tortilla rose from their place near the mast. Gripping a magic mace, they began the rhythmic, arcane dance of the blade song, their movements flowing with an almost supernatural grace. The bullywugs surged onto the deck in waves, but with a quick gesture, the tortilla conjured shard of frost and cast iced knife. The spell flew through the air, striking one of the raiders. The shard exploded, icy shrapnel scattering and freezing the other two bullywugs in their tracks. A giant bullywug with scared skin leaped onto the deck, croaking orders to the others. As it approached, our hero drew forth the shadowy power of Shadow Blade. The spectral weapon formed in his free hand, its edges shimmering with psychic energy. Moving with the speed and precision of blade song, the tortilla darted through the melee. Shadow Blade slashed through one bullywug after another, each strike leaving a trail of psychic devastation. The remaining bullywugs, battered but defiant, roared and charged. Summoning the thunderous magic of Booming Blade, the tortilla swung their mace in wide arcs. The weapon connected with deafening crack, and thunderous energy rippled outward. A large bullywug staggered back, its body vibrating with latent energy. When it tried to step forward, the stored energy exploded, sending it crashing into the river with a final, guttural croak. As the ferry resumed its journey, Tortilla shipped their Shadow Blade and let his blade song fade. The night grew quiet again. Ah, sit close, me fine folks, and let old Barda recount the bold tale of Tarig the Headsplitter, the bravest barbar whatever braved the Bergraam basin. Hear this, like Tarig himself was spinning it. Aye.
Big boat, aye. Made of bark and beams. Barbar boards, bring in battle axe big as me belly. Boat bobs, belly booms, CB scary aye. Boat bounces on big, blue briny. Barbar barely balances but brims with bravado. Bergraam be on the horizon, bold and bright, aye. Blasted beasts be belly crawling aboard. Bullywugs be bad, bulbous and battle hungry. They babble about bounties and bring out blades, aye. Barbar smashes broken boxes, builds barrier big as barn door. Bullywugs bash and bellow, but Barbar be braced. Aye. Biggest bullywug bounce forward, biceps bulging, bellowing bad words. Barbar bellows back, voice big as thunderclap. Aye. Battle begins. Barbar bashes bullywug, blades be beaten. Blow after blow, bullywug buckles, bleeding bad. Brave Barbar be victor. Aye. Both bobs again, bullywugs be battered, beat, and bend. Barbar basks in brainy breeze, belly full o battle bliss. Bergraam be waiting. Aye.
The Bergraam ferry bobbed gently across the placid waters of the Bergraam basin as Varisa, the hunted dark elf warlock, stood at the prow. She gazed into the distance, her mind preoccupied with the cryptic commands of her fathomless patron. But the quiet of the journey shattered as guttural croaks echoed across the surface, and before the passengers could react, the ferry was swarmed by bullywugs. Varisa reacted swiftly, her eldritch blast crackling to life as she hurled a bolt of force toward the nearest bullywug. Simultaneously, she raised her hand and invoked her tentacle of the deep, summoning a spectral, writhing tentacle of easy water. Aye! As more bullywugs surged onto the deck, Varisa focused her magic. She raised her hands and cast Thunder Wave, releasing a concussive blast of energy. The wave surged outward, throwing several bullywugs back into the water with cacophony of splashes. One particularly large bullywug, armed with a jagged spear, croaked, challenged and lunged at her. She reacted instinctively, her armor of agathis flaring to life. She cast Hex on the spear-wielding bullywug, cursing its movements and targeting its strength. Her eldritch blast followed immediately, striking true and leaving the creature dazed and bleeding. Realizing she was outnumbered, Varisa turned to the power of her patron. She chanted an incantation and cast Create Water, summoning a surge of seawater to crash onto the deck, washing several bullywugs back into the basin. The spear-wielding leader, now visibly enraged, charged again. Varisa met its gaze, her voice a whip of fury as she invoked Hellish Rebuke. Flames erupted around the bullywug as it struck, consuming it in a fiery burst that left nothing but ash and charred remnants. Varisa remained at the prow, her expression grim. The whispers of her patron grew louder, almost approving. As the ferry approached Bergraam, she knew this was only the beginning.